Hey everybody, I have a video here for you today, and I am working on a couple Egypt videos. They're slowly coming together. My free time is a little limited these days, but I found this article and I want to make a video about this. This is something I have talked about on my channel in the past, how the ancients used natural plants in their spiritual rituals and for medicinal purposes. But it says the oldest evidence of marijuana use discovered in a 2,500-year-old cemetery in the peaks of western China. It says, today more than 150 million people regularly smoke cannabis, making it one of the world's most popular recreational drugs. But when and where humans began to appreciate the psychoactive properties of weed has been more of a matter of speculation than science. Now, a team led by archaeologists Yang Yimin and Ren Meng of the Chinese Academy of Sciences in Beijing reports clear physical evidence that mourners burned cannabis for its intoxicating fumes on a remote mountain plateau in Central Asia some 2,500 years ago. The study, published today in Science Advances, relies on new techniques that enables researchers to identify the chemical signatures of the plant and even evaluate its potency. We are in the midst of really exciting period, says a team member Nicole Boyven of the Max Planck Institute for the Science of Human History in Jena, Germany. The paper is part of a wider effort to track how the drug spread among the Silk Road on its way to becoming the global intoxicant that it is today. Cannabis, also known as hemp or marijuana, evolved about 28 million years ago on the eastern Tibetan plateau, according to a pollen study published in May. A close relative of the common hop found in beer, the plant still grows wild across Central Asia. More than 4,000 years ago, Chinese farmers began to grow it for oil and fiber to make rope, clothing, and paper. It says pinpointing when people began taking advantage of hemp's psychoactive properties has been proved tricky. Archaeologists have made the claims of ritual cannabis burning in Central Asian sites as far back as 5,000 years ago. It says ancient people put cannabis leaves and hot stones in the brazier and then likely inhaled the resulting smoke. It's like a little mini weed sauna in here, and then they inhaled the fumes. But new analysis of those plant remains by other teams suggests that early cannabis strains had low level of the THC, the plant's most powerful psychoactive component, and so it lacked mind-altering properties. One academic who works in Central Asia said he and his colleagues tried to smoke and eat wild varieties, but got no buzz. But it says the cannabis burned 2,500 years ago at the cemetery 3,000 meters high in the Pamir Mountains in far western China was different. Excavations there have uncovered skeletons and wooden plates, bowls, and Chinese harps, as well as wooden braziers that held the burning material. All are typical of the Sogdians, a people of western China and Tajikistan, who generally followed the Persian faith of Zoroastrianism, which later celebrated the mind-expanding properties of cannabis in sacred text. The wooden braziers were concentrated in the more elite tombs. The team ground bits of the brazier into powder and applied gas chromatography and mass spectrometry to identify the chemical compounds left behind. They found unusually high levels of the THC compared with typical wild cannabis, although much less than in today's highly bred plants. The cannabis was apparently burned in an enclosed space, so the mourners almost certainly inhaled the THC-laced fumes, the authors say, making this earliest solid evidence of cannabis use for psychoactive purposes. So I found this very interesting. Coming from China, this is how they use cannabis 2,500 years ago in this high mountain plateau. And here is the area of the world where this discovery was made. Here is China right here. Tajikistan, guess that is the way that is said. The Pamir Mountains right here, a high elevation where this cannabis residue was found with some human remains. Now this is Science Alert and has one of these braziers, as they call them. The stones in them here where they put the cannabis and then inhaled the fumes. And they also show one of the 2,500-year-old tombs here with one of those braziers, as they call them, right here. But when you say ritualistic or ceremonial use, sometimes that term is overused, but when it's alongside human remains, well, I guess that is safe to say that is a good guess as far as why it was being used. And here's one of those tombs from overhead. circular type stone ruins here. But 2,500 years ago, that is ancient cannabis use, but how far back does cannabis use really go? Well, man has been around for a real long time. They've always been curious and ingenuitive, and I'm sure cannabis use goes back well past 2,500 years, deep into antiquity. Humans have been around a long, long time. But today we kind of give ourselves a pat on the back as being so progressive and legalizing cannabis in this state and that state, and realizing all the beneficial properties it has. Well, I think we're just rediscovering something that the ancients always knew, and it was never a bad thing to the ancient people, and it seems we are the first culture in history to make cannabis something bad. That is just my opinion. But I will leave these two links below. Leave your thoughts in the comment section. Subject I've talked about before. Hope you thought that was cool. And you all have a very nice day.